All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Rose Simpson. I'm a librarian at the New Haven Free Public Library, and welcome to Co-Create. We are here with our creative in residence, Nadine Nelson, and today's special guest is Esther Tseng. Is that how it's pronounced?
Yeah, that's great.
Well, thank you for joining us. Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Right. So, Esther, I introduce myself and I allow you to introduce yourself. But then I usually say how I know a person. And so I will say how we know each other. And then I'll let you introduce yourself. Okay.
Okay.
So, I, I'm Nadine Nelson. I am the creative in residence at the New Haven Public Library. And I am also the chef, owner, and educator of Global Local Gourmet. It is an interactive culinary event company, and we specialize in interactive culinary education. I am also an artist, and I am a multidisciplinary artist. And Co-Create is about two creatives or artists talking to each other about our process. And the last couple of weeks, I have been collaging and making things. I think today I'm going to make some mandalas because I talked to a gallery called Flux Factory in New York about doing art activation that I do called Harvest Mandalas that was supposed to be last year. And because of the pandemic, it was postponed. And then they're finally doing it over Memorial Day weekend. And so that's going to be really fun to be outside and socially distanced, of course. But that inspired me to do these mandalas. I got these at Echo Works. We can talk about where that's from. And so, yeah, so Esther and I know each other from Facebook, and we're both, sometimes I do food writing on occasion. And I'm doing a story now that I'm working on chowders. So that's really fun as we go into spring. And, but we met kind of, I mean, we've met like, commenting on different things. But I put up a meme on recipes and how people don't like to read the head notes. And so, um, and she got a little upset, and then I got a little upset too. But then I was like, Esther, like she was a little, I like passionate people. And I said, I think that she'd be really kind of interesting to talk to. And she's a really good writer and writes about a lot of different issues that I'm into also. So that's how we know each other. And so I'm looking forward to um, learning about you. We talk about artist journey or creative journey and all different things. It's like kind of free form. So there are some people on here. So you can participate. It is a free form kind of environment and ask questions. You can be creating also. You can share something that you're working on and you might want feedback from. You can ask us about being a food writer and the ins and outs of that. So Esther, introduce yourself. Welcome. Thank you
Thank
for being
you.
here.
Thank you so much for inviting me into your space. I have a lot more sunlight because it's only 3:40 here, and yeah, I am a freelance food writer, and a little more on that tiff we had on Facebook. My delivery was not good at all, but and it definitely needed a lot more tact. Um, but it was, and I get it. A lot of people, they want the recipe and they want it now. And we food writers just like to be indulgent and tell the backstory and the culture. So hopefully that recipe with the big, front loaded story on it has that click to recipe button. So definitely look for that if you want the recipe. But yeah, I'm a freelance food writer, so I write for, never two publications, one after the other, or the same publication, in a row. So I kind of bounce all over the place. And before the pandemic, it was a lot about trends and chef profiles. And during the pandemic, it definitely pivoted more towards food justice. and a lot of focusing on the inequalities in the food systems, and how we were getting rid of all these eggs and all this, the breakouts were happening in meat factories, and vegetables were getting plowed over, while the food banks lines were like tripling in size. So that's been a lot of my focus the past year. So yeah, I have just a lot of work that's kind of piled up, because this stuff is just getting a lot more coverage lately. So yeah, anything you want to ask about food writing, that is what I do. So
How did you become a food writer?
oh yeah, I started out with a food blog. So before influencers, there were food bloggers. And at the time I could, it was a lot of happy hours, because that's what I could afford, so, $5 cocktails, $4 cocktails, $5 appetizers at the time, which
And was that in LA?
is in LA. Yeah, I'm from Wisconsin, but I've now been in LA longer than I have been back there.
Where in
So
Wisconsin are you from?
I'm from the western suburbs of Milwaukee. It's called New Berlin.
Okay.
So yeah, I came here to LA for college, and then I just stayed.
What college you go to?
UCLA.
Okay.
Yeah. So
And how is Milwaukee? I've never been there. I've been to in the Midwest. I've been to Chicago. I've always wanted to go to Milwaukee because I'm a trained teacher. That's like where I got my degree in, and also a degree in English and literature. And so my cooperating teacher that I had, that's the person that you work with that teaches you how to be a teacher. She was from Milwaukee. So I've always wanted to go because she would tell me about Milwaukee, and then she was a black woman in
yeah,
Milwaukee, so.
totally. No, I'm from the western suburbs, where in 2020 it was still 93% white. So I know my experience from a true Milwaukeean, like, I don't say I'm from Milwaukee,
Yeah.
Is completely different. And yeah, it's one of the most segregated cities in the country, even compared to the South. So it's not, yeah. It's definitely, I was definitely like running away from stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we, not that LA doesn't have its own problems as well. So yeah.
Where do you live in LA? What neighborhood?
I live in East Hollywood, and I'm at the I'm basically northwest of downtown LA. And yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the center of all this gentrifying going on around me. So but I still love my neighborhood. It's got a lot of different, it's very Latino, and there's still some great history here, thankfully, in my neighborhood. So
I like LA. I don't
yeah,
know if I would want to live there because I don't like to drive.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
I hate driving, so it's
yeah,
just that would be a lot for me. But I think that's really kind of unique and it's really fun to visit. My daughter wants to be an actress and entertainer, so she always wants to go there. And she was saying that my cousin is a screenwriter and writer and screenwriter, and he was out there for a
yeah,
little while, but then now he's at Columbia going to film school. And so she was saying that she wished that he was out there. And I said, well, I like LA. You could go out there if you want to when, things
yeah,
are a lot better.
yeah.
Um, I love San Francisco also too, but I've never been all along. I've only been from San Francisco down to, I guess, like Santa Cruz maybe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I'd like to go all the way down from from San Francisco down to maybe even San Diego. That would be nice.
Right. Um, yeah, there's so much it's like Great Coastal Drive. It's very scenic, and yeah, there's a lot going on. There's like farmland in between and whatnot. So
Wine country.
wine country, multiple wine countries, depending on what you got, like Napa, which is like kind of the overblown wine country now. But next to it is Sonoma, which is what I tend to like better, a little more subdued. But then
Yeah.
you got like Central Coast and then Santa Barbara too.
Yeah. I went once out there. That was fun. So where do you see food writing? You know, that it's like we're at like kind of like this nexus, and you know, maybe you should talk about food writing. I'll talk about why I'm not like, I don't pursue writing like in general, you know.
Not a lot of
It's
money.
And you know, like when editors call me, it's like, it's so funny because I'm just so, it's like before you'd like be all polite, and because like people want to know like kind of like why you don't have more bylines. It's like I would write if there was more money, but there's no money in the amount of time that it takes to write and research. It's like I love doing it, but people want to give you $500 for something that took like all week, and then they want to, you know, I usually don't, because I was an English teacher, so it's like I usually don't have that many edits per se, but it, I mean, it's like
You're right.
$500 for all the research if you have to interview someone and all that kind of stuff. And so
And people pay less
that's
than that.
huh?
And people pay less than that.
Oh, I know. Like, I know the companies that at least pay. So and then pay like when you submit your article, not when they publish it, or maybe when they don't publish it, because I've never
Another like 60 days for it to actually hit your account or you get the check. Yeah.
like, no. So where do you see like food writing going? And then that people, you know, like with blogging,
Yeah.
and there's all these different changes, because I was like thinking, you know, because sometimes I work with brands, and I'm like, I wonder how, you know, brands and liquor brands feel, and now that we're opening up, or you know, like, are they going to want to do events, and you know.
I think media in general, it looks really bleak. Like we just had like I think three publishers kind of fold like today. Like there's Medium, they said they're discontinuing their model. And yeah. And then Mel Magazine laid off everybody this morning. So it doesn't look good. Like I have a whole other job that's not even creative.
So what do you do?
I'm a registered assistant, so I assist brokers at a financial company. Like we do individual investing, and I do all their admin stuff. So like, and they're all commission based, you know, and I just have the salary, but I have two computers here. So I got like my Mac for my writing. I got my like Hewlett Packard for my financial stuff, and that's the only way. I mean, I can't like, you know, I have pretty good bylines, and I don't live off my writing. So
Well, that's what people don't really understand. And that's what I said, like when I was like promoting this, like the dirty little secret is that, you know, that so many people that they might have 11 cookbooks or 20 cookbooks, and they don't have any money. And if they didn't have a rich spouse then they wouldn't be living the way that you think that they're living, and you think they're living off of their salary, and they're not. And so when people say like, why don't you have a cookbook? I'm like, people don't make money from cookbook. And I feel so like utilitarian because, but I'm like, I have a child. I have to take care of her. She eats lobster and shrimp, and you know, like,
right? You have to promote it as well, and then you live off the royalties maybe afterwards, right? And
if you're lucky, you know, like next month Rick Rogers is going to come on. I'm sure he'll talk about you know, all his different things. I told him like he's in this class that I'm taking to move your business online. And he has such great stories. I mean, I don't know if you're friends with him on Facebook, but he has such great stories. So Rick Rogers he is a legendary cookbook author. And not only is he a cookbook author in his own right, which he has his own byline, but he has been a ghostwriter and then also written for lots of different brands. And so, I mean, I think he's written hundreds of cookbooks. He's written a lot of cookbooks.
Yeah, that whole business model of cookbooks is a thing I want to definitely hear him talk about.
Yeah, I'm sure you should come on. He's very candid. I want him to get really juicy, you know? So welcome, Brian. Brian is a writer and editor here in New Haven. And Rosamond?
Yeah, hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Welcome.
There's also a comment on Facebook. Hi, beautiful ladies. Love you, Nadine. Keep being awesome.
Thank you. Who's that?
Rich Tabisa, Thabisa.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That's so sweet. So please ask questions of Esther or myself. You know, you can share also if you're working on something. People have shared.
Yeah.
And Brian posted in chat, hey, I'm staying muted so you don't hear me typing.
Okay, no problem. I'm sure you're on deadline.
Right.
Our local paper is like really, they're wonderful, and they do really great coverage of the arts in New Haven and just like really issues that really really matter. And also their comment section they're very good. And New Haven, I don't know, have you ever been to New Haven before?
I haven't. I need
Oh,
to.
so yeah, so it is. It's like just for pizza and like just other food too, but you know, like we're known for our pizza.
Yeah.
And people got upset the other day when I said that New Haven pizza was better than New York pizza, and they thought that I was joking. And I'm like, no, like New York pizza. They're like, well, don't you like New York pizza? I'm like, I like some New York pizza that's like New Haven pizza, but I mean,
yeah,
regular New York pizzas is, I don't know. I feel like we have to have a challenge.
yeah.
Because I will put money down for New Haven pizza. I'm not even a gambler, but I'll do that though.
Can you describe overall the difference?
Oh, so New Haven pizza is it's coal. It's done in a coal oven traditionally. It's very, very flat. And so
very thin crust.
Very thin crust. And then some people say it might, if they're not familiar with the pizza and they don't have a certain a taste level, that it might be burnt, but it's not burnt. It's just crispy and very brown. And it's flat. And the traditional New Haven pizza is a clam white pizza.
Yes.
And so we're known for our clams, but just in general, it's like really good. And so I like a thin crust pizza. And New York pizza is the dough is too doughy. If you go to traditional New York pizza, it's too doughy.
Got it.
So if you have been raised in New Haven and you're been around the connoisseur of pizza, when you go to other places, it's just kind of a letdown. So it's like, I'm not going to go to New York for pizza, but New York has everything else though. So
Yeah.
I don't know what the big deal is that New Haven can't have pizza. New Haven, the list is like top 3. We have top 3 pizza parlors, but on some lists there are top 6. And then our regular, that's like our, and those are like our tops. But then our regular pizza is like off. It will surpass anyone's best pizza. Our regular pizza will surpass someone's best pizza.
Amazing. That's a high bar.
I'm Jamaican. I also said that Jamaican black cake wasn't as good as Trinidadian and Guyanese. I'll tell the truth.
Ooh.
Like it's good, but it's just not as good as the Guyanese and the Trinidadian. It's also my personal preference that I like it very puddingy, and that's the difference. Like I love Jamaican black cake and my family makes it and I get my own tin and I eat it. But Guyanese and Trinidadian black cake is it's like a pudding and it's just so rich and it's divine.
I need to try black cake. I've never had black cake.
Oh, really? Well, you know what I got from that call? I have a piece of black cake waiting for me in the freezer in Boston. And then I also got a person in Boston that, because the person that saved me the black cake, she retired. I'm lucky I even getting this little piece of black cake. And but I found someone in Boston, I found someone in New York, I found someone in New Haven, and I found someone in Chicago. So, and you know who were the only people who responded were Jamaicans and Trinidadians. I gave out the call for Guyanese and Bajans, and they didn't come through. So I tried.
Brian Slattery says, "Who's the person in New Haven?"
It is Kay's mom. Kay, hairdresser Kay. Caribbean Jamaican Kay, Caribbean Association Kay. Her mom owns a Jamaican restaurant over there in Westville, over by Southern, Brian. And her mom, you know what her mom did? And it gave me idea when I asked this, that I want to get one of my cousins or someone's teenage child to start a little business, that we should have a cottage industry directory. Yeah, it's really good, Brian. I'm sure, Kay's mom will make it for you. I'll give you her contact information. And then from that connection, I got sea moss. So her mother makes sea moss in the jar and she delivered it to my house to me. That's good old fashioned Jamaican service for you. Hospitality. So I don't know if people don't know about sea moss. Do you know about sea moss, Esther?
I don't know anything about sea moss.
So sea moss is it is a seaweed, and it grows obviously in the water. It looks like it looks kind of bushy when it's kind of dry. It's not like it's kind of gelatinous seaweed. It's kind of white.
Oh, okay.
And it is a superfood. And it's like one of those things that, like people, like we've been having in Jamaica all our lives. And so you make it into a smoothie. We usually do it with like oats. Some people do it with oats and stouts. Like Jamaicans kind of make these kind of concoctions that they convince themselves that they're healthy, and it seems like they have a lot of sugar and alcohol in them. So the sea moss, it's dried and then you boil it and it becomes really gelatinous. And so it's like she has it in a mason jar, and it's like it's like congealed chicken fat. That's what it kind of feels like. And then you just take a teaspoon and you can put it in your smoothie, or I put it in my tea, in my chai in the morning. And it's like really good for like people. It's become really popular because it helps to boost your immune system because of COVID. Like people, it's one of the things like when people, it's also good for your chest.
Right.
So
I'll have to try it. So it's like a supplement, like a...
Yeah, you can get it in a supplement. or what people like it. A lot of people flavor it because it doesn't taste that good, but it also doesn't, you can just put it, I just put it in my chai and you can't really taste it.
Oh, okay.
You put like a tablespoon.
Try it.
Yeah, it's good for your hair. You know, like how seaweed's good for your hair and all that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So what are your favorite foods? I know it's a boring question as a food writer, but you're in LA and so you're you're lucky you're around
Yeah.
that.
I'm my answer is also boring because I'm like a blank slate. Like I like everything and I try everything and I have no allergies. So yet. So um
That's
hopefully,
true. That's true.
you know, I mean, no one in my family has food allergies either. So I think overall we've been very, very lucky. But we have so much food. Like we have access to so many different kinds of foods from so many different ethnicities. Um, we finally have and I if you come to LA, I would probably pay to bring you to a few pizza places and get your opinion. Because what I was about to say is that we have decent pizza here now.
Well, I lived in Boston for 23 years and I never went out for pizza except there's a place called Centarpio's, and that is, it's a cross between New Haven and New York pizza. So it's not as flat as New Haven, but it's not as puffy as New York, but it's still a little puffy, but it's really good. And it's in this neighborhood called East Boston, which has the nicest view of Boston. It's over by the oh, they said the sauce on the pizza in Boston isn't seasoned. Yeah, they just take it out the jar. It's true. Um, but I love East Boston. I like Centarpio's because it's like that one of those old world Italian joints where they're kind of mean, and it's like you go inside there. It's like it's going into the Italian version of the Irish version of when you like the town, or no, I swear, like I've been in those places in Charlestown and in South Boston where I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go in there, like, oh, okay, let's see, because I go anywhere, and then you open up, you're like in South Boston, like you open up and you go in, you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna go inside there.
You just
And I'm not afraid of anywhere. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm like, yeah, yeah. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. It's like, I'm not
That's
going.
funny.
And there's no food in there, so it's not like it's even worth it. It's like it's just alcohol. So it's like, no, I'm not gonna.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh.
So the pizza I'll leave as debatable as being finally having better pizza here, but bagels we still need to work on. But other than that, we have everything.
Well, the first time I went to Los Angeles was a very long time ago. So it was like probably like 25 years ago. And I was probably 25. And I was an educator, and I think it was a program maybe at USC or somewhere down there. And I don't know what museums are down there, but I'm like one of those people. I'm like an all-terrain person. I'm like, oh, like let's just see like what's going on. And I remember I went to, it was a museum by USC, but I was at another college, and it was on American literature and like American studies, and like how to bring American studies alive. So like that's like my specialization is like interactive experiential stuff. So we went to all the different neighborhoods. Like we went to um like East LA and had Latino food, and went to like the Mercado, and then we went to Koreatown, and then we went to all these different neighborhoods. It was like so much fun to get to know the city like that. And like we went to also different museums and cultural institutions. So I was there. I'm like, oh, I want to go to this African American museum, and I look on a map, and so there's no we didn't have like phones or anything like,
Yeah.
so it's like I don't know if I looked on the computer and maybe like printed out something, and and So I'm walking because I love to walk, and I go to the museum and I come back, and then someone pulls over and they're like, do you see anyone walking? I'm like, no, it's like in LA, people don't walk. You look like a victim. I was like, I know that you're not from here. I was like, oh my God. I was like, thank you for informing me of that.
They pulled over and said that to you.
Yes, because they're like, she must not be from here. She's like walking like la-di-dee, la-di-da, la-di-dee, la-di-da.
People don't, what do you think you're doing walking?
He knew I wasn't from here. And I guess it was getting dark, so he's just like, look, chick, like, it's like, okay, thanks.
I think that's really great that they felt concerned.
What? Oh, why are you saying that? Are you saying that people in LA are not like that?
No, they are, but it's spotty. It's not everybody. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I would, yeah. It's got that big city thing where, mind your own business. But there are people who care, who will. It's kind of half and half, maybe. It depends. So, yeah.
Well, I guess I just had that look like, let's help this girl out. We don't want anything to happen to her. She seems a little too happy bopping down the street, like being like, oh my God, the palm trees. Oh, it's so pretty over here. It's so different than the East Coast. And it's like different than San Francisco.
Yeah, it is. We're so different from San Francisco. I remember the first dinner I flew into New York I had one time, like over like 15 years ago. I think I was sitting there with just me and my friend, and then the waiter is like, "You're not from here, are you?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "You're smiling too much."
Well, you know what?
I get it.
Like what they say about our work culture? Like I have friends, like, including my brother, that they have worked over here and then worked over there. And they love working on the West Coast better because like there's a clear delineation between work and like play. And so like, like over there, my brother was his law firm was doing work for Google. And so he's over there for like maybe like a year. And so I went over there for the Black Farmers and Gardeners Conference.
Oh, cool.
And
it was
for
in
a
LA?
week. No, it was in Oakland, and then he was in San Francisco. And so like every day, like he's like leaving at like maybe like 9-10 o'clock, and then he leaves the campus at 4 o'clock. And I'm like, so when do you work? Like, when do you work? And then I have a friend that she's in the music industry, and then when she's in LA, she like works like 11 to 6. And she loves it because like in New York, like there's no delineation of work. Like people are calling her at 5 o'clock in the morning and at 12. And so like she's like, I can go have a hike in the morning before work, and at 6 o'clock I can go have dinner with friends and enjoy myself. And my brother, he didn't like the lack of diversity in San Francisco, but he liked the standard of living and like how people had free time. Like as a lawyer, he sometimes like he can work like 36 hours. Like over there, it's not like I just think that's interesting about, like, I always tell people about culture in America, that in America, you can feel like you're in different cultures, totally.
Yeah. I really enjoy, I mean, there's some like self-segregation going on that I noticed like when I first got here for college, because there are a lot of Asians and stuff. But once I got out of college, our neighborhoods are just so different from each other, and they're right next to each other. So really, like, whatever personality you have, you can find the right neighborhood for you in somewhere in LA. So, and then you can drive to other neighborhoods, obviously, but again, with the driving. So
Yeah, it's like Atlanta. I like Atlanta. I think that it's really it's really cool. And a lot of people, they feel like Atlanta isn't diverse, and it's really diverse. But then also it's really big though, you know,
Yeah.
and
Just
it
go there.
oh my God, it's just, whew, that's so big.
Yeah.
It's too stressful for me to want to drive.
Mm.
Who are some of your favorite food writers?
Oh man. I love Tejal over at the New York Times, Rao, and um, I love Whetstone magazine and Steve and everybody.
Do you
Um,
know Layla?
um, like on the internet.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
goes.
so she's one of my good friends. I catered her wedding and she was also on here. And so
Nice.
yeah, so I met her. I was doing a tour for the city of New Haven, their
Mhm.
Department of Tourism. So like when you do those journalism things. And so I was doing that. And then we realized that we had friends in common. And she had a women's group that we used to go and eat out every month. And it would be great because we could like eat off the menu of some place. And then it would be, only like $50, $60 and have a bunch of drinks and stuff like that. And so we became cool friends
Yeah,
like that. But she's good people. And I like Stephen and Whetstone. It's a beautiful magazine.
beautiful. Some of my favorites, and all over the place. And I'm always like on Twitter or online, so it's all these articles everywhere. Like, I love like Alicia Kennedy's newsletter. She does such a great job conquering.
How do you like that platform
So,
that she's on? Substack, is it right?
yeah. So I guess she's an anomaly, but people have been talking about. I think they just recently changed something. I don't even know exactly what it is, so I don't have the updated like opinion about it. But I loved like how democratic it was, but then something about their model changed, which I'm not sure. That seems undemocratic how from the impression that I've gotten, but I just don't know what the nuts and bolts about it were. If anybody knows, please chime in.
So do you still blog or no?
I don't blog anymore. I only write for money. you know? I don't have time,
Well,
I guess, to not write for money. So
right. And that's why I say like to people, like they're like about blogging and well, how do you feel about blogging and being an influencer? And it's like I said, like I don't really want to I don't want to be an influencer. That's not what I
now,
want to do. I don't want to like I like writing about things like I like that I'm getting paid to go study chowder. I like chowder. And then I like that I get to tell a story about chowder and do research about chowder.
I want to read
And
it, by the way.
huh?
I want to read that when you're done, by the way.
Yeah. And I got them to do like a Peruvian one and some other ones. So it's just not traditional. And talk about those type of populations in New England and stuff like that. But I'm not really interested in being beyond like getting the free stuff and
Yeah,
getting paid lots of money a month. But then it just doesn't seem like when people talk about it, really worth it to me to be doing that all the time and not have a life. Because it
I
seems
don't.
like that.
That's not my bag.
Hmm?
That's not my bag either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I guess my numbers say I am a micro influencer. I don't get paid. I don't get paid to influence. I do get paid to write. So I think it's hard to be. You have to be one or the other, because if you're an influencer, right, then you're. I don't know. It's not your opinion. It's just that some company liked your numbers and wanted to reach your audience,
Yeah.
right? So that's I would rather say what I want.
Well, that's what I like. And like if I'm like, especially like with brands that I don't mind working with brands, but I want to work with brands that I like. you know,
Yeah.
and have that type of relationship and be more. So I like working with a brand and then coming up with like their aesthetic or
Yeah.
interactive thing for people to get connected to their brand because because I believe in the brand and believe that people should be connected to it. You know, like either they're good to their people or they support small farmers or something like that. But I prefer to have those type of
Yeah.
relationships.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so how's everything going over in how's life in the pandemic in California? I know that you guys had some setbacks.
Yeah, we had a reopening and then a shut down again. We weren't we were like doing well in the beginning and then we were not doing well at all and then we were like the worst. So, and actually San Francisco has fared better than us. Um,
Yeah.
I think the thing is that I think we have a lot of even like our sprawl made us complacent and you know not as vigilant after a while, but at the same time it was hardest hit in the low income families where there might be multiple families in one dwelling place,
Yeah.
and they worked in the hospitality industry or they worked in the garment district in close proximity to other places that were essential work but were not treated as though they were, you know. So I feel like those low income families that were hit and infected the most, that's what they were dealing with, and you know, issues like that. So
My
yeah.
sister lives in LA actually, and she's a librarian for the LA County Library System. And
Nice.
for a while, they had pulled like all the library staff to do contact tracing. And like the beginning of the pandemic, she'd have like a very limited number of people that she needed to call each day and could call like them and all of their contacts. And then later on, it's like there are too many people to call all of them. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
called like the person themselves, none of their contacts, and still couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah. Yeah. They didn't shut down everything, like restaurants were shut down but not retail. Like I don't get that,
Hmm.
you know. So it was it was like they enforced where it was easiest to enforce and where the lobbying groups were the weakest.
Well, that's what I think is like really kind of crazy about like how like we make decisions in America. It's like, well, who has the best lobby? Like that's how decisions are made. It's like it's kind of crazy.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, so what kind of stories are you working on now? And do
Yeah.
you pitch and do you like go through a list of publications that you want to?
Yeah. I pitch lately. I've been lucky enough to all my work is now stuff I've been approached for. So I'm very lucky. I just wrapped up a future of food feature for Self magazine. So that's going to be, I'm really excited about that. I interviewed
Congratulations.
people like Jose Andres and um, Karen Washington, and
I love Karen. She's so great.
she's amazing.
Yeah, she's wonderful. She's a really good mentor and she hooks me up with, jobs, but she's like a really, you know, really good mentor and
Yeah.
really just a down to earth person, like when someone's like so wonderful and so smart
Yeah.
and they're so accomplished, but they're
So,
so gracious also. And, if you need something, you need to talk to her, you can call her up and, text her and she'll be like, oh, I can talk to you at this time, stuff like that.
totally. Yeah. And like, um,
So for anyone who doesn't know who Karen Washington is, like people call her like kind of like the grande dame of urban agriculture. And so she started a urban farm in the Bronx. And I think Karen before, like she wasn't she I think she's a social worker or a physical therapist. A
Yeah.
physical She was a physical therapist, and to be able to get outside and connect with the land. She started a garden in the South Bronx, and then she also, now that she's retired, she's part of a four woman farm in upstate New York.
Yeah, real root. And
And she's also one of the founders of the Black Urban Garden and Farming Association. And that's what I was talking about, going out to Oakland and to the conference, which was great because there's, that history of Black connection to the land. And so I went on a tour. They had all different types of farm tours. And so I went on one, was like in Oakland and Berkeley. And it was like for the Black Panthers. And so we saw like where they had, bakeries and, the People's Supermarket, but then different places where they had farm sites. And, like a lot of people don't realize like all the good and different social programs that the Black Panthers had. So it was great to be able to see that. Like I grew up reading that, and then to be able to see that in person was like really fun.
yeah. Yeah, I learned so much from Karen, and just how all the activism that she got into related to all that too, and food sovereignty. And I talked to Sean Sherman, the sous chef.
Okay. Yeah.
And what he's doing has been amazing, and during the pandemic, and he's in the middle of launching like these kitchens and stuff like that. And I was like,
so people, you want to explain who Sean Sherman is, just in case like people don't know, because that like there's all different types of people who watch this program, so it's like it's not only food people.
Yeah, so Sean Sherman is known as the sous chef, and he's Lakota, I think. Yeah, he's Lakota, but he's from South Dakota, but now he lives in Minnesota. And I forgot the name of the tribe over there, but he's all about indigenous cooking and going back to the roots of North American indigenous ingredients and bringing that back into our food systems. And because while maybe 20% to 25% of Mexican food is indigenous, there is practically like 0% of American food that is, indigenous. So, everything here is European colonial food. So I was like, and if you don't know the history of Native Americans here in North America, a lot of erasure happened. So a lot of the children were put in boarding schools to erase their language and all their cultures. So when I asked him, like, how did you research what indigenous ingredients actually were, since there's been so much erasure, he said he used to be a field researcher for like national parks when he was 18. And he would have to like name all the plants in the parks in South Dakota. So it was amazing how his different works kind of converged into what he does now. So that's been amazing. Yeah.
So what were some of the things, like give us some highlights of what they said?
Oh.
And then do you have to go through like Jose Andres, do you have to go through his publicity person, or like what do you do? Yeah.
My editor, like, hoisting the power of Condé Nast, to get those. It was definitely through PR. Some had PR, some had, was themselves, which I like. because that means they're, you know, they're on their way up and up. So Jose Andres, he credited his wife like 5 times, which is amazing. He's like, you know, she's the one who tells me that I've gone too far or whatnot. So it's, and he's always like, I don't even think I'm accomplished or whatever, but he's just, the way he talks, he has so much to say that he really believes in this phrase he uses, weaponizing empathy. And he got really passionate about the point where he was talking about like why I'm sick of going to the UN and hearing them like give speeches and applaud themselves and congratulate themselves, and then saying they're going to end childhood hunger, you know, and they don't do anything. So he was just saying there's a huge gap of empathy in all poor and rich governments, and more needs to be done because, yeah, I mean, World Central Kitchen is just, they're feeding people like we've never heard of, you know, after tragedy after tragedy. So
like it's so sad that I just feel like I'm just cutting and cutting and cutting and cutting, but it's just easy. It's easier. I'm one of those people, like I like to have, like when you paint, it's like you go through and you just make sure that you tape the whole area. And so the whole day it takes to paint, and then it takes like 2 seconds to, you know, actually paint. And so
yeah.
here's my thing, but then look how small, like they're, so they're vegetables.
Oh, that's
Oh,
cool.
like cross sections of them.
Yeah.
Neat.
That's cool.
So
I love that.
Huh, purple
Ooh.
cabbage.
yeah, purple cabbage. And it's my favorite. Candy stripe beets.
Are those beets? Okay, it was like it's
Mhm.
either that or radishes.
Yeah, like they're not the watermelon radishes. I like those too. Um,
I'm growing beets in my little plot right now.
oh,
But I
you
don't,
are?
how do you know how to tell when to harvest them? Because I see the tops of them.
Um, I've never grown beets before.
Okay.
So I never, you know,
Yeah.
you're gonna eat them, right?
I'm going to
The
eat them.
You're gonna eat the greens too, right?
And the greens. Yeah, the beet
Yeah.
greens.
Who was talking about, like yesterday? I don't know what I was listening to about sweet potato greens and how, you know, like Americans don't eat the sweet potato greens, but in Africa and in the Caribbean they eat them, and they are very nutritious.
Nice. Yeah, I love the greens on top of root vegetables.
Yeah. Are you a good cook?
I'm better during the pandemic. I was eating out all the time because all my blogging and everything was it was never cooking. I was just eating other people's food. But I'm thankfully okay with the knife. I think I have the basics with those, with the knife. But yeah, thankful. I think this has been a good chance to get a lot better at cooking than I was.
But are there any particular cookbooks that you like, or cookbook
Mm,
authors, or
you know, I've been doing the meal delivery, the prep things, and I follow those directions. But I have a ton of cookbooks that I still like need to gather and prep and ingredients for and stuff like that. But I don't have a favorite right now.
which prep companies do you like?
I was doing Marley Spoon for a while. And then now
What is that one like? I've never heard. I've heard of it, but what is it like?
Marley Spoon is like the Martha Stewart branded one, like
Okay.
one. And I think it's great. It's like it's one of the more foodie advanced subscriptions you can have. It's decent, and then they just started being late, and then like obviously the ingredients aren't good
Yeah.
anymore. So I had to stop that. HelloFresh is like a lot like user friendly, and I think just more just easier for people to use.
Yeah.
So that's been nice. And then they have the 15-minute prep options. So that's been nice. But other than that, I'll stir fry anything since I'm Asian. And then we have that expensive like rice cooker where you can have like the rice is a day old or 2 days old and it's still good. You just eat it over the rice. The zojirushi, the Japanese rice cooker.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Like maybe I need to bring that to Jamaica then.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing like for, since you're in a pandemic in LA, what do you do for, fun? Like here
Mm.
in New Haven, I go hiking.
Mm-hmm.
I
A lot of
live,
hiking here.
huh?
A lot of hiking here.
Yeah, I'm glad that we've had like 1 week of really nice weather, and I hope that it stays nice because, sometimes, Fool's Day comes, and, the 4th of April comes, and it's like there's a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So I'm just hoping that it stays nice and that the magnolias, they bud, and then, we're into spring. And do you forage?
I do not. I would love to learn though. I think I want to take a foraging workshop or a class or something because as far as what's available here. Thanks for
Yeah.
putting that on my to-do list. I was reading. I was writing things for black cake, sea moss. Now like foraging.
Um, well, foraging is so much, it's like, especially like in the pandemic, like being able to go outside, my daughter and I, like we can do it for like 2 hours. And then I have been getting into like herbalism. And
Mhm.
so I'm not from here, I'm Jamaican. And so learning all these different like things in New England, and then um, realizing that you can make tinctures and how easy that is and how good they are for you. So yeah, I like to do that kind of stuff. It's fun.
I gotta figure out where because it's so dry here. You know,
Uh-huh.
so I gotta figure out where a good place to be and what to get there.
Um, if you remind me on Facebook, I'll show you who the people that you can follow that are there's this guy, I can't remember his name, but Pascal Boulder, I think, or it's a French last name, but I'll just put his name in Facebook and then it will come up. But Pascal
Okay.
something, but he does lots of foraging. He takes it to the extreme.
Wow.
But he's up by San Francisco, I
Hmm.
think. But I think he does classes out there. But he'll make like pine needle like liquor and
Oh
all
wow.
kinds of all kinds of random stuff.
Wow.
And he likes to ferment things. And I don't know if I'll get that good, but I think it's all interesting. And that because I didn't grow up on it, it makes it nice and new and cool.
Yeah.
Like I love parsnips. I didn't grow up on parsnips, so I love them, and
Right.
I love making them in different ways. Like my mom just made salmon head soup, and she put parsnips in there. It tastes so good.
Nice. Awesome. Yeah, and I've gotten really into the gardening since the pandemic. I luckily so I used to live around the corner and I was staring at this empty lot while I lived there for 5 years. And it was like who nobody knew well, none of my neighbors knew who owned it. And then I realized the city owned it. And then they started bulldozing after I moved around the corner. And then there's a lottery. They built like 33 plots, and then I didn't win a plot, but since I had tweeted about it because I wanted to spread the word,
They,
some of
they
my,
gave you one?
you know, they someone who found out about the plot lottery, who got in, she's a, you know, a food stylist and a cook too, and she got me a plot because there were unclaimed plots even though people had won. So I got a plot, and that literally happened a few months before the pandemic, and I was like, oh, thank God. Because what would I do or learn to do that's new during this pandemic? So that's been just such a lifesaver.
Yeah, that's why I like foraging and just going outside. Like I live in a condo complex, so it's
Mm-hmm.
nice that we don't really have to leave if we don't want to, and there's lots of trees and um that kind of stuff. Um
Yeah.
where do you want to go? Where's your first place that you want to go to?
Oh man, my boyfriend and I were just talking about that. I don't know. We It's kind of like you still got to be a little safe, you know, so what would be acceptable as far as not endangering a community? Like one of the trips we put off is Oaxaca,
Yeah,
because there, I mean, we have friends. She has a Oaxacan indigenous language organization. She does interpretation in like Mije and like Zapotec and all the Oaxacan community and Guatemalan communities who they're not actually fluent in Spanish either. They
yeah.
speak indigenous languages, so they interpret for them at the courts and the hospitals, and you know, then they've been getting them vaccinations and stuff, and they're the ones in the multi-family households as well. So, um, but they're really suffering there because also their hospitals are in Oaxaca City and they're up in the mountains and these tiny villages, and that's one of the places we put off, and we would have been during the pandemic. So we're figuring like what would be an acceptable place to go without endangering the people there. um, but luckily we just got our second vaccination a couple days ago, so
Oh,
hopefully.
I get one tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So um yeah. Um, so
Good.
being Jamaican, like people, like my cousin and I were talking, like she's from St. Lucia yesterday. And yeah, like we can't, like we don't want to go back to Jamaica because like Jamaica is like 84%, like the Caribbean did so well. And then they opened up, like to England and to America. And a lot of because, in Britain, it was like a mess over there, how they handled it. And so they came over to Jamaica and then the cases went up. And so they're 84% capacity. And that's not very saying very much because those hospitals, I wouldn't want to get sick in Jamaica.
No.
So yeah,
Oh, they're 84% in the hospitals. Wow.
yeah, yeah. And so they shut down people coming from England because so many people they had like, guidelines, but then no, the people weren't listening to them. Like they're leaving the hotels and doing all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I just go from from my house to an Airbnb to a
That's
hotel or to a hotel room. Like I went to Boston, I just looked out the window.
I went to San Francisco. I drove myself to San Francisco and stayed in the Mission, and then just had takeout in my bread and
Yeah.
breakfast.
Oh, that's what I did. Like I was like by Chinatown, so I ordered from Chinatown, and then
There you go.
we're by the water and like had oysters and
Yes.
like just like had like indoor picnics in my hotel room because it's like it was dirt cheap, and so it was like kind of like a suite and had separate living area and then view of the
Yeah.
Charles. So it was just like nice to just be like just go from one room to the next, like
Yeah.
four walls.
I feel like that's like definitely the beginning of traveling, at least before we warm up to a more daring situation.
Well, it's really weird because like we're only like an hour and a half from New York on the train, and like door to door to like Harlem, it's only like an hour, and I'm used to going at least once a month because I usually have work there, and I've only been once this whole year because I had a job. I only went because I had a job because I was getting paid,
Pretty-
and it was in a garden, and I could get off in Harlem, so it's like you get off and you get off the platform and come down, so you don't have to. I didn't have to go to Grand Central, be around a whole bunch of people, and I could just walk down the street and not be around anyone, and then go in the garden, film, and then leave. But it's like so weird when you live here and not to go to New York.
yeah.
And I don't even think I ate anything in New York. I don't even think I
Yeah.
ate anything.
Yeah. I miss like flying to the East Coast. I always
Uh,
go during fall, you know. I need to see.
And do you just go to New York, or do you go to like Philly or
Sometimes
Washington
I
or?
go to Boston. Well, my friends don't live there anymore, so probably less so. But I have wanted to like go up to Maine or whatnot.
Like to have lobster?
Yeah, exactly. I need to do that, and um,
You should drive down 1A. That's like the coastal highway. So it's like, I think it's like the Boston Post Road.
okay.
Rose, is that the Boston Post Road?
Is what?
1A.
Let's see.
Because I thought the Boston Post Road goes from all the way from Maine all the way to Florida. And so like when I used to live in Boston, we would just go. It takes longer, like you could get to from Boston, I think you can get to Maine in probably an hour and 15 minutes, an hour maybe, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken. Um, but if you go down 1A, it's by the water, so you just get lobster. Like you'd stop and do like miniature golf, and it's like like kind of that old fashioned kind of Americana.
Yeah.
Okay, so Boston Post Road, there's three sections of it. There's US Route 1 along
Okay,
the
Route
shore of
One.
Providence, Rhode
It's
Island, and then Upper Post Road, which is now US 5 and US 20 from New Haven to Springfield, and the Middle Post Road, which is in between.
okay. So it was the Route One. Route One is the
Route one.
along the water.
Noted. It's just a nice change of scenery. I would love to do that. And then I feel it like, and then when you drive, it's just safer, especially now, you know?
Yeah, that's a long way to drive, though, Esther. You're gonna drive all the way from California?
Oh no. I mean, I'll risk the flight over there, and then
Yeah.
there's certain airlines that are better than others. I heard. I haven't. I still
Oh,
haven't.
who's better?
Alaska
Who's good?
Airlines, Alaska Airlines, and what's the other one? Delta,
Okay.
as far as spacing and yeah, limited capacities, from what I hear.
Mm.
Brian commented it does. One from ME to FL, so is that Maine to Florida? I don't know all the state abbreviations.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he would know. I think Brian is also a musician.
Oh,
Nice.
Well, he
yes.
Yes.
okay, yes, and he also hosts um jazz shows with Babs around town. Although, of course, since there has been um the pandemic, they haven't had one
Mm.
recently.
Mhm.
Yeah. Those are things that make New Haven special, Esther.
I should visit New Haven.
Should you have a good time? Like it's New Haven's really nice. It's in between like going to Boston and Providence. Most people never go to Providence. Providence is really nice. Providence is a really great food town. They have really good Italian food. There's a section called Federal Hill. They have
Mm-hmm.
really good Guatemalan food. Um, that Central American kind of food. They
Yeah.
have a lot of Central Americans there.
Uh,
Um, They have, do you know Matthew Kenny? He's a dude that does vegetarian vegan food. So I haven't been there, but I think he's supposed to have a whole supermarket or a whole kind of setup that was supposed to be all vegan. That's
yeah.
supposed to be cool. I went there the other day to say goodbye to a friend who was actually moving to Oaxaca. And um we went to everything was closed down because it's like the pandemic. So but we did go to a Korean restaurant and they have really good food trucks in Providence. And we went for oysters because they're known for oysters too.
Nice.
They're nice beaches. So New Haven, New England's a very pretty region. I might say that it might be the prettiest region in the country.
especially in the fall.
Mm.
Fall is my favorite to
Mm-hmm.
travel elsewhere.
It's the prettiest region. It doesn't, I don't know. I don't know what's the prettiest city in America?
Hmm.
Boston or San Francisco? New Orleans. Those three places, I think.
Yeah. I miss the trees a lot. Like when they
Yeah.
change color in the fall. Or it's just kind of shrivel up here. In
Well,
terms
yeah, it
of
just seems like there's just not any like water there. And like
no,
what's the long-term plan for that? And
all our water, comes from up north. And they
I
don't let us
know.
forget
Huh?
it. And they don't let us forget it.
I
You
know.
drink our water. I'm like, I know. It's all mountain melt, from
Yeah.
Sierras. So yeah, that's where we get our water, and otherwise we just pray for rain all year round. We used to have the wet season, which would be our quote unquote winter, but that's not that's
With
not there.
global warming, that's
Yeah,
gone.
yeah, and then now we have fires, so
I know that just seems very scary.
it is very scary. It just keeps getting worse. Just keeps getting worse and worse.
So then from a food writer's perspective, with all these different things that you've been learning, what do you think are some solutions? Because
Mm-hmm.
I part of this organization started called Stir the Pot, and we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to move people into like policy and understanding. So many people don't know about what policy is. So then how do you create policy? But how do you feel like with like, for instance, like the food waste that's going on? Like how
Yeah.
do we create a better supply chain that doesn't happen in the future?
The problem is big ag, right? Is like we're subsidizing the wrong things. Like we're subsidizing these monocrops, and the soil is only getting worse and worse. So, like, I study a little bit about, I wrote a thing on, like, regenerative agriculture and stuff, but we really need more biodiversity. And so, like, how are you going to tell these farmers who have all these lobbying groups that they got to change their entire approach? That are used to like living off these subsidies of only growing soybeans and only growing corn or only growing, and then like the sugars, right? So corn and stuff like that. It's such a huge.
Have you been in those Facebook groups like food and politics and then there's like food and farming? And so the job that I had to go to New York for, it was like consulting on this um documentary about a protopia. And so I didn't even know what a protopia was. And so it's a difference between a utopia and then a dystopia. And so I made like that distinction. And then I was being provocative because then no one answers your question unless you're provocative. So I had all like, so I put like protopia and I put like, urban agriculture, like 2.5 or whatever in the future. So I have all these pictures that look like out of space and everything, and farming out of buildings. And so I go put it in the food and farming. Oh my God, they just lit into me, boy. And they're like, why do people think that people can grow their food? You people in the big cities, like, leave it to us. And I was just like, people like, and I was like, I'm a journalist. And there was no concept of even being nice. And they came for me and they assumed because I put these provocative pictures up there that I had an agenda and I just wanted to get people talking. They were lucky I had a thick skin. They were so mean. They were so mean. And I said, my grandfather was a farmer. They're like, you hate farmers. And I was like, where did I write anything that I hate farmers? Like, can you read? They made all these assumptions and had like those basic conversations that people have, like, you're a liberal, like this and that. And I'm like,
yeah.
But what do you think about the future of food? That's what I asked you. And you could have used this as an opportunity to share that. And you're coming for me because I put some pictures.
Space.
Of...
Oh, she must be like this. She put a picture of space. That's pretty funny.
It's fun. And the thing is, like, if I had a thicker skin, I really want to put more things in there. Sometimes I put things in there and I just leave them. I don't even look because I'm afraid to look at what the answers are. But I just like put like just a little different perspective. Like, but do you know, I don't know if you know Malik Hakini, and it's just like, he writes these things on food sovereignty and race and the land. And so I'll put one of his papers and be like, thoughts and like question mark.
What do you think of this?
Exactly. It's like, bye.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
I asked people what were 3 words that they would use to describe me. And my she wasn't my teacher, but she was the head of admissions at my private school. Maybe you guys know her, Brian and Rose, Martha Venter. And so she said, one of the words was like, she said like, so no, oh no, she said she used cunning. And then one of my best friends from high school used mischievous. I was like, these are some of the only people that know me. Do you know?
Mischievous?
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I call myself an imp sometimes because I just like to, agitate, and life is boring,
Yeah.
if you don't try to spice it up sometimes.
Get some reactions.
Yeah. Well, that's why I put the meme on there about, but I mean, I felt a little bit bad. And
that's fine.
I mean, going back to that though, and since Brian is still on here, how do you feel like writers can get paid? Is this even Jeff Goodheimer left and went and got a job? He used to be the editor of Esquire, folks. Like, he went and got like a regular, I don't know what kind of job it is, but it's not a writing job. For that way.
How do you? I don't know. It's like,
can you only be an influencer?
But that's brand.
Or do I have to go find a partner to be able to subsidize my living? Like
yeah.
I don't believe in that as a woman.
I know.
Get hired by like a regular magazine and like post to their blog.
No, but the things like regular magazines are not, it's like, just very few people who can get even staff assignments, and you don't get paid a lot.
They don't. And then like, the your only chance of getting a decent amount of pay is by unionizing, right? And there's so many newsrooms that are just like try to union bust and whatnot, but where the balance of power is like a good, it's at a good place. That's just such a hard thing to find. I feel like Vox, Vox owns Eater and a bunch of other stuff. I feel like that's one of the only places that that everyone seems pretty happy and satisfied from who I've talked to.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people, a lot of these different publications that seem like they have a lot of turnover all the time.
All of them.
All the time. So doesn't seem like they're very.
Yeah. Or Washington Post is owned by Bezos, right? So it's like that's like his philanthropic thing, I guess. Yeah. I don't know how lucrative it is. So
So what is next for you and your creativity?
mm, I would like I'm trying to do more personal essay stuff because I've been doing a lot of reporting, so that would be a nice like reprieve. But it's scary shit.
I know. So what? So okay. So what do you want to write about?
Well, I mean, I don't know if the news cycle will be over, but like this anti-Asian violence stuff has, it's timely right now. Um, but it's obviously something, that I've experienced my entire life, so I have a lot to say about it. So, just how it's relevant and very, the intersectionality of it is, you know, oh, sorry, I'm reading a chat. So, yeah, so like personal essay stuff that has to do with that. I'm gonna start a workshop in a couple weeks, which I'm very excited about with Pointer, called "The Power of Diverse Voices." So hopefully get to workshop like a personal essay there. So that, and I would like to get more into poetry and probably like you know, I feel like it's in me, but I need to hone it. I need to take the risk and work on it. So
I
yeah,
used to I used to do poetry up until just a little bit after college, and then I realized that unless I wanted to be a slam poet going on tour,
yeah,
or I wanted to be like an academic poet, which I'm more like an academic, that kind of poet. But then I realized the people who do that, it would be so boring, and I would only be one of very few people of color, and it would be torturous for me. Like, because I would I was in that poetry scene in Boston, Cambridge, and stuff like that. So then I stopped doing poetry. And I've
yeah.
been thinking about starting it up again too. And recipes are kind of like poems, you
Hey,
know?
that's an amazing comparison. You're right.
So um having that sense of restraint.
Right,
So you
right.
want to do some poetry.
Hmm.
Um, what else?
Hmm. Guess just hmm. I want to. I've been totally on this plant thing. So not only have I been gardening, but I used to have. So I put my cat to sleep at the beginning of the pandemic. Like you got
Sorry.
a cat thing. And I had him for 12 years, and he was like my first like pet that was just mine. But I couldn't have plants because he would just chew them. so so when he died, I just went crazy with the plants. So I've been learning that I can actually keep these things alive when I don't have a pet. So
Okay.
I would like to get more into just different kinds of plants and maybe creatively arranging them and potting them and repotting them. And yeah, it makes it definitely, I've definitely felt the change in aura in my living space, and I've been enjoying it. So I would like to have another pet that could coexist with them. So that's probably my next big challenge. A cat or dog that doesn't eat my plants. So,
Do you want me to? I said that I do cards. Do you want me to do your cards for you?
yeah.
Right. So I usually do a set of goddess cards, and then I have cards that I made, and I also have ones that I made on my phone. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually want to do a set. Let me find them first. So do a number between 1 and 50.
1 in 50, 37.
Yes. All right.
There was also a comment in the chat from Maria Fay. Hi, Nadine and Esther. I clicked
Hi,
on
Maria.
not realizing what time it is. I'm going to sign off and watch the replay on Facebook. Didn't want to leave without saying hi.
Hi.
I'm
Glad you could join us for a little while. Appreciate you. Okay, so I have these herb and spice cards. I don't know if you can.
No, it looks, your screen's a little
No,
too bright.
yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't record well.
I know. I'm sorry. Well, needless to say, I have to upload them. I made them, and I have these decks that I have to upload to Moo.
Oh yeah.
So you said 37, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you can't really see it,
No.
but they're all different spices and herbs. So I'm going to number 37. And you got sage. And
Oh,
so sage is for, wishes, protection, wisdom, and a long life. So why do you think that came up for you?
wishes, perfection.
Protection,
Oh,
protection,
I'm like,
wisdom, and a long life.
wow. Well, I have grandparents who lived till their 90s, and so that's the one that pops up for me for long life. Um, Protection, I've been very protected. In I I feel like there's been a lot of close calls. Like I flipped my car before, survived that. Um, I felt like getting out of the house when I did, and being able to move 2,000 miles away for college was definitely protection, um, and a way for me to find myself, where I know a lot of people had to like wait a lot longer than that. Wisdom has definitely been the collection of um, my life's experiences. I think I've tried to make the most of these lessons that have been taught me. So that wisdom does strike with me. And as far as wishes, yeah, I think I've always had wishes that have either showed me that um, when I got them, it's not actually the best way, or I've had ways to amend my wishes to the way that have been more beneficial and have kind of like with an expanded worldview have made better wishes than before. So yeah.
Cool. Brian or Rose, do you want herb and flavor card?
Sure.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, what number are you choosing?
What's the range again?
1 through 50.
27.
You got mustard. Mustard.
Sounds
So
spicy.
Ooh,
yeah,
ooh, right.
ability to get things out and deal with challenges. Why do you think that you got that, Rose?
Well, I like stay pretty calm in any situations. Like I don't panic. If something comes up, I just sit down, okay, this is what's happening. What do I do about it? And then I do that.
And it's true. I called Rose my handler, and she's very smooth.
Thank you.
I don't know. I don't know if they picked me out. I can have a little bit anxiety. I don't think that Rose is necessarily seeing that anxiety. Maybe a little bit, like when I like to be on time and my daughter does the setting up and stuff like that, and she likes to be late, and so sometimes I can be a little bit tense at the beginning if we're not on time. So like she is smooth. So Brian said that he was going to choose 27 also. So I don't know if he wants to say like why he thought that came up, but he probably is kind of like that too.
Hmm.
I don't know Brian that well, but he strikes me as the
He said
ability
he's
to get
scared.
the. He's like, I love mustard. I like mustard too.
I
I
love
like
mustard.
all different. I like all different types of mustard, and I like mostarda. You know, I like condiments. Like condiments.
Have you
Um,
ever had the spicy Chinese mustard at like dim sum and stuff? Super fun.
yeah, I like it. I like to mix it with the soy sauce
Yeah.
and with the duck sauce. I like all three of them together, you
Hmm.
know? So I grew up in Toronto, so I grew up in I don't know, I don't know if I'd say it's America's best. People are gonna be like, you're best. I'm like, I'm just joking. I'm just joking, folks. I'm just joking.
It's fun.
Um, America's, North America's best Chinatown, but I grew up going to,
It's up there.
yeah, it's a really great Chinatown. And then right next to Chinatown, I forgot I don't know if it's called Kensington, that neighborhood. Um, they have lots of vintage clothing and all that kind of interesting. It's like what the New York version of the Village is right next to Chinatown in Toronto. Or excuse me, Toronto.
Oh,
So
Toronto.
Got to get the pronunciation right.
Yeah.
well, if I'm from Canada, but then it's so funny. I never realized Canadians had an accent till
Uh-huh.
because I would get teased. I moved to New Haven when I was 10, and I would get teased, and I was like, why are they teasing me? I'm speaking the same language that they are.
Yeah.
And then when I was 17 or 18, I went to Spain, and then being outside of the country and then listening to English in a different country, not in Canada or not in the United States, you're like, oh damn, like Canadians do speak differently. Hey.
Hey,
So
the
uh
O's too are
hmm?
different. The O's.
Yeah. Um well, when I'm there for a little while, just like when I'm in the Caribbean, you can hear a little bit in the back of my throat, but I try not to have any accent whatsoever.
Mm,
Some people are just really good at picking up accents. Like I
yeah.
was visiting a friend and I don't remember where. It was Illinois. And then when
Mm.
we were talking to like a neighbor of theirs and they could pinpoint that I was from Connecticut and like what region of Connecticut. And it's like, oh, how
But
do
I
you
was
even
gonna say
determine
that,
that?
but yeah, because I was gonna say that, but do people from Connecticut have an accent though? Unless it is
Well,
that
in comparison
very.
to other people, everyone's got a different way of pronouncing things as an accent to whoever.
No, I know, but a collective accent though, like where
Mm.
people know like of like a Boston accent and a New
Apparently,
York.
because this person could tell that I was from Connecticut, so it got some kind of distinction.
Like
That's amazing.
I don't.
I
I
heard the
know.
standardized. American accent is traced to some town in Ohio.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Hmm.
I forgot where I heard that, but it was like some journalism study, so the ideal, I guess, most neutral American accent.
What is like the Cleveland area known for regionally? Like, like Cleveland, like I'm gonna say Milwaukee, but like Cleveland's known for like their like chili with the spaghetti and stuff like that. And
I thought it was Cincinnati 5-way chili.
Pie, right?
but I thought it was Cleveland that had that. Or it's I thought Cleveland had it. They had chili on their spaghetti.
Yeah. Like Steak and Shake stuff, right?
I thought they had chili on their spaghetti and I wasn't feeling it.
Cleveland is about pork products.
Yeah. I know that they have like the Polish stuff too, but I thought that they were known for like the chili on the spaghetti. And I just thought that was just not appetizing at all.
I know Cincinnati does that, and the 5-way chili is because there's 5 layers. There's the spaghetti, which is like the really thick spaghetti that's practically little tubes, and then chili, and then on top of that there's kidney beans, diced onions, and a whole bunch of cheddar.
Kidney
Yeah,
beans,
no.
diced onions.
And then you can do it like 3-way chili, where it's just the chili and spaghetti and the cheese, and then you can make it 4-way by adding the onions or the kidney beans. My parents have a recipe for Cincinnati 5-way chili that it used to be when I was a kid, sometimes for really special occasions like New Year's Day parties or something. They'd make the chili and it would take like all day to boil it and they get it like the right flavor.
Wow.
The secret ingredient was dark chocolate.
Yeah, that's what we could say. Like exactly. Like they put chocolate in there.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Wow.
Adds a little bit of richness to it.
Well, it's very different from Texas, I'll tell you that.
For sure.
I'll do your goddess card. So I have to. Do I have one down here? I might not have one. Oh, there. You know what? They're in here. I have these
Brian
during
commented,
virtue.
Brian commented, I feel like it's like people heard someone describe bolognese and then made it with the stuff they had around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't know where the chocolate came from in that, but
Not no chocolate.
But it is, but it does. I just don't want the chocolate. I don't like chocolate in my chili, but then I don't want chili on my spaghetti. And I don't want the beans on my spaghetti. I don't.
That's a lot.
So these are inner goddess cards, the red ones, and these are just regular goddess cards.
Okay. Oh, do I choose one?
Yeah.
Oh, inner or regular? Let's do regular.
A goddess is not regular, but I understand what you're saying.
Right? Regular. Inner, outer.
Okay, so I'm gonna shuffle, and then you can tell me to stop.
Stop.
And then top, bottom, or middle.
Fine.
Islot, undying love. The love you have shared is eternal, regardless of the situation. So before I read the message to you, why do you think that you got that?
I try to have eternal love for everything.
Yeah.
Nothing temporary. Yeah.
Okay.
And not conditional.
Well, you're very on a high vibration. If you don't have conditions to your love, that's hard to do, don't you think?
Oh, it's very hard. Maybe that's more of an aspiration than a truth.
Like I aspire. I was thinking about that today. It's like I aspire for that too, and like those are very high level kind of emotions. I think I need to be, maybe when I get to meditating at the hour mark, maybe those thoughts will come. But I'm only at 10-minute intervals, not
Right.
30 minutes altogether. I can just do like 5-10 minutes at a time. Oh, I feel like I want to go off on someone. Let me go meditate.
Hey, that works.
Uh, so when it comes to matters of the heart, your help is here. It's all around you and also inside of you. Your inner wisdom may seem quieted by any pain that you feel. Yet be assured that the healing you're undergoing is swift and efficient, and you truly are healing from the inside out. First, your heart must heal from grief, loneliness, and any feelings of betrayal. This can take some time. Be patient with yourself. Treat yourself to your as you would any ailing person, with caution, gentleness, and tenderness. Next, get yourself out into the world, not into a harsh fashion, but with outings to parks, forests, and such. Such are essentials to lightening your outlook. Nature is a great healer, you see. That's why I'm frequently amidst the flowers and the trees. Although they may seem on the outside, they're quite talkative, quiet on the outside. They're quite talkative when you breathe and simply ingest your magical tones in conversation. Spend time among the forests and the trees, as well as the plants and the animals, and you'll regain your foothold upon this planet. You'll revive your sense of spirit, and your desire to tread among the living once again. I promise you that your heart will mend and that you'll also help others in the fashion along the way. Love from your romantic partner is eternal, regardless of outward appearances. You're healing from a breakup, you're healing from some other type of loss. Let go of an old relationship to make room for a new one. The love that you send into the world is an important part of your divine purpose. Your deceased loved one is happy and sends you love. This legendary Celtic goddess was caught in a tragic love triangle between her husband, King Mark of Cornwall, and Sir Tristan, a handsome and noble knight. Throughout the scenario, Isla was courageous in dealing with with her respect for her husband and her profound love of Tristan. Today, Isla helps us through the corridors of relationship love, including familial, romantic, parental, and friendship. She reminds us that regardless of the situation, our love is real, powerful, and undying. Call upon Isla whenever you need help with any relationship, including your connection with departed loved ones.
Wow, that was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does anyone else want me to do their goddess cards today? I don't know, Brian, would you like me to do your goddess cards? Or I do have affirmation cards and flower cards.
And besides Brian, we've got Nancy McDermott.
Oh, Nancy. Hi,
Hey
Nancy.
there.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good. Esther, do you know Nancy? Nancy, do you know Esther?
I don't. Good to see you, Esther.
Good to see you, Nancy, or not see you, Nancy, but hear you.
Nancy.
Oh, I forgot.
Nancy is do you have 11 cookbooks, Nancy?
Something like that. Yep.
Yeah. From Thai cooking to Southern pies. Yeah, she is amazing. You guys should become friends on Facebook. She's very supportive and just a wonderful spirit. Thank you for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. I had something at from 7 to 8, and then I almost forgot. It's like, oh my gosh, I got 5 minutes.
So ask us a question, Nancy. Or do you want me to do Nancy, do you want me to do your cards? Do you want me to do a goddess card for you? Or do you want inner goddess or goddess, Nancy?
Inner goddess, I think. Yeah. I could use some direction.
Nice. Right. They're really pretty cards too. They're new.
Oh, beautiful.
They're like really pretty. All right, so I'm shuffling, Nancy. So, and Nancy, Brian Slattery is also a writer, editor, musician that we're lucky to have in New Haven.
Nice.
Nancy is based in North Carolina.
That's right. Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Where we are
Tell
having
me what-
spring.
Yeah,
Spring has sprung.
that's good. Have you got magnolias?
Not yet. They kind of come later. The red buds are out and all the flowering, they're pear and cherry and all those. Most of them are ornamental. So no, the fruit's not coming, but everything that has those big sort of candy colored spring blossoms is going wild. Forsythia.
Oh,
And
yes. Yeah.
yes.
So I just stopped. What do you want top, bottom, or middle?
Middle. I'm a middle child.
Okay. Gelato goddess. I don't know what that is, but hey, that sounds really good. Gelato is always good. I've never picked that one before.
Everything is
So
a food reference to me. So I thought you said gelato, but it's probably not.
no,
ice
it
cream.
is. It is.
Oh my
It
gosh.
is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'll be
You can see
darned.
these
I love it.
better.
I
Yeah.
like it.
So have you given another the power to influence your sense of self-worth or your direction in life? Choose with care whom you allow to get close to you and guide you. It's obvious and yet easy to forget that if we accept guidance or influence from another, we want to make sure that they are living the kind of life and being the kind of person that we aspire to be. You can learn from the inspired by others, to learn from and be inspired by others, but you must stay true to yourself. Do not allow anyone's voice to become more important to you than the divine voice, than your own heart. Spiritual guidance. Your soul has 10,000 flavors. Some people may try to persuade you that one soul flavor is better than the other. Best to ignore those with such unadventurous palates. You are a divine gelateria, an array of sacred scrumptiousness.
Oh, I love it.
Not to be ignored by the unadventurous palate. Sometimes you will be kind, other times you will be fierce. Sometimes you'll be sweet, other times you'll be strong, independent, stubborn, and determined. Sometimes you'll be all class, at other times you'll wolf down your lunch like it's the last meal you'll ever eat. These rare people who accept themselves unconditionally will be able to accept you, all parts of you, unconditionally too. Others who struggle to accept themselves may struggle to accept all of you. They may want of you what others they 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 may want you to behave in a certain way. They may feel embarrassed or afraid of what others may think, and so they try to censor you. Maybe they think that they are helping you, but they are not. They aren't quite ready to be freely and truly themselves. Maybe one day they will, but in the meantime, you won't help them or yourself by trying to change who you are. You are worth so much more, with so much more to offer to those who are ready to embrace all of you. Carefully choose with whom you share yourself. You deserve to be and to be loved for being all of you. Sacred ritual. Say out loud and with confidence. I trust, love, and respect. I trust,
I trust,
love,
love,
and respect all the different parts
and respect all the different parts
of me to work together
of me to work together
as I live my most creative,
as I live my most creative,
honest, and beautiful life.
honest, and beautiful life.
I choose to share myself with those that love
I choose to share myself with those that love
and respect all of me.
and respect all of me. Oh my gosh.
Does that resonate with you?
Very much. Very much.
So I'm
The
happy.
gelateria is open.
The lottery.
Hey, so we are at 8:25, and I know that Esther, that you have a firm 8:30. So I want to say thank you for you being on here. It was great speaking with you. I knew that you'd be fun to talk to, and that I shouldn't tell you off, and that I should,
Thank you so much.
I went and I meditated, I meditated. I feel like I've become so mature through all these different, wellness modalities. I'm so proud of myself that I invited you on the show. And,
Appreciate it that you took the extra step, that
yeah.
was way above and beyond.
So it's like when I come out to Los Angeles, you'll take me out for pizza and other things. If you come out to the East Coast, New York,
Yeah.
New Haven, Boston, Providence, I'm here to be able to be your tour guide. Philadelphia or Washington too. I'm good with those also. I love those places. So thank you. I'll say to you next week, Wednesday, we have Ife Franklin from Boston, and she's a multidisciplinary artist, and she works with fabric and ancient African practice called adire, where she uses indigo to make beautiful patterns on fabric and makes different objects with that. So she'll be talking next week, and we're talking about conjuring, like the idea. Oh no, next week is my goddess workshop. Next week is my goddess workshop. Sorry. I'm doing a goddess make and take bag. There's no more make and take bags, but you should still watch the workshop because we're going to be learning to make portable altars.
Amazing.
And this one is kind of Egyptian inspired. And we will you'll learn about rituals, how you can do your own rituals, how you can use things from your house to be able to manifest the things that you want. And since I am a kitchen witch, or I'm trying to get kitchen and witchy, and then but on Monday we have Meatless Monday, and we have the last of our series, and we will be talking about the blue zones and food to live for longevity. So please join us on Monday from 7 to 8:15, and then next week from 6:30 to 8:30. We will not have. I'm sure there will be people who will join in for our goddess workshop, but we won't have a particular artist, but maybe I might find a goddess that wants to join me. So, but I'm going to
Thank you
be
everyone for
dressed
joining
up.
us.
Yes, I'm going to be dressed up as a goddess. It's going to be a full immersive experience. So please join us. Thank
Beautiful.
you.
All right. Have a nice night, everyone.
Bye.
Night. Bye.